I don't think I've ever seen nipples like that. And you and
No.
I have had conversations
Yeah.
about what constitutes a good nipple versus a bad nipple.
Yeah.
And I think it's like porn. I can't explain where that line is, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
And that's what good nipples versus bad nipples are. And Jessie Lally has bad nipples.
Bad. Very,
Bad
very.
nipples.
Listener discretion advised. Adult language and mature content.
There it is. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Got to give a little time for our song to lead us in, and I did that. So now we are back. I am Jen.
I'm Keeley.
And we are feeling a little out of sorts. Everything is crazy. I didn't get rid of them. No. I didn't throw them in a shoebox, but the kittens are not going to be in the background. I only have one, and she's passed out at the moment, so that's exciting.
Yay.
And Keeley and I have matching hair today, so if you're watching the YouTube version, you can see it. We're quite cute.
Updo twins.
Should we just jump right into the valley?
Yes.
This episode was exactly what I had thought it was going to be, which was everything's going to slow down.
Yeah.
Now that we've got Jackson rehab.
Oh, yeah. Episode 4, everybody. Yes.
Yeah. Episode 4. I hate him now more than ever. Every little new, piece of evidence, he's just garbage. But also, I never want him not on TV. Is that
Jax
bad?
or Jesse? Let's be specific.
They're both bad. They're both bad. Everyone's a little bit bad. So let's see where we end up tonight on this one.
Okay.
The show was just all over the place, but this episode focused on the Santa Barbara trip.
Yeah.
So, which looked incredible. They stayed, Jesse rented the most insanely gorgeous, giant Spanish colonial house. Yeah. I think Spanish colonial homes might be my favorite style of home.
Oh, so pretty.
So pretty.
On a cliff. Right, looking over the ocean, you can completely dateline any spouse, any person, right? Easily accessible to do that. Right there.
Did you see that clip? I think I sent it to you, where this woman has made a binder called her Dateline binder.
Yes.
And it's literally all the photos that if she gets murdered, these are the great photos of me being a loving mom and the good angles, so no one shows a picture of her that she doesn't find flattering.
Yes.
And she also was here's a profile on my husband because it's most likely that it'll be him. Not that she has a bad relationship with him, but she's just in case, most likely it's going to be my husband that kills me. So here's that. Yeah. Here's other people that might kill me. Here's affairs that I would love to be having. It was genius. And
amazing.
I think that would be fun to put together. But they start off doing a road trip to Santa Barbara. I like that Jesse, he's basically decided that the theme is that it's a wine trip, and he matches his wardrobe to it. I didn't hate it. He's so over the top with his clothes. He had the big, it almost looked like a vintage 70s bowling shirt, but it had the wine grapes on it.
He said it was wine tasting. They didn't go wine tasting.
I think, well, maybe they will next episode.
Sure, I guess, but I was waiting for them to go wine tasting. But Michelle did say on Watch What Happened Live that Jesse was basically drunk the entire time. So
he got there and immediately downed. Yes. He even said himself he downed 2 bottles of Chardonnay. I mean, he was clearly feeling awesome.
All the feels. Yes.
All the feels.
Oh my God.
And everyone has their intentions on the trip. We have Nia and Danny, who are just excited about a break from their kids. Her first thought is, and we could try for our 4th baby.
Oh God, right. And did you scan around their room and see just piles of clothes everywhere? Did you see that?
I did see that their room was chaos.
Oh, God, yeah. I loved it.
I am on Team Danny for it. They need a bigger place. I know that that's a big condo, but it's also a really old building, so there aren't a lot of closets. There's no storage in that place.
That was amazing. Yes.
Luke and Kristen are very excited because she's there during her ovulation window. So they're going to be fucking a lot is
Which
their plan.
Did right
Immediately.
when they got there. Yep.
Immediately. Which they're doing it not just because they're super horny, but I guess also because they're trying to have a baby. So everyone was supportive. And it's... I think that's weird. I don't know how I would feel about a group trip. I don't want to know. Like, we can all assume that that's what's happening, but I don't want to talk about what you guys are doing. And you put a hat on the door.
I mean, they have to walk down the hallway and see that. Ugh.
Hear it.
Ooh. Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah.
So weird. They walk in. Jesse starts handing out white flags because he's like, look at me. I'm a little angel. We're all going to have peace together. And he goes, here, Michelle, you need one more than anybody. If nothing could be more obvious that he's not sincere at all.
No, because he just got done calling her an escort at Dave & Buster's.
Yeah. So, and then immediately is like, hey, you need this white flag because you're not, come on. And she's like, no, I'm not taking it. And then in the after show, he was like, yeah, she didn't even take it. I was like, yeah, because you tried to give it to her with a shitty comment.
Yeah.
Of course she didn't.
No, because you called her an escort the day before, so no.
And they do the NASCAR thing. Everyone was dressed up. Have you seen Talladega Nights? That Will Ferrell movie? I've never seen it.
What?
I haven't. Okay. I grew up with a mom that was really into the Indianapolis 500. And so that was the fancy car racing thing. And we lived in Boise, Idaho, which is not the most metropolitan place. Right? Then we moved to Washington, D.C., and she becomes full country and gets into NASCAR. So I think just my ick factor, I was like, I'm never having anything to do with any of this. So I know that all of those were Talladega Night references that they were making to each other, but I missed all of them.
Yeah, it was really great. But I'm glad that you brought it up because I was going to make a Talladega Nights reference at the end of the show, at the end of the valley with Jesse and his disgusting underwear.
My favorite part was Janet was like, we're white trash, but not that kind of trash. Which she's corn dog white trash, not NASCAR white cat.
I have to admit, and I hate it, and I have disgusting metal tasting in my mouth right now, that I really like Janet in this episode.
She was funny.
She was great in this episode, and I cannot stand Janet. So
there's that part of it where she gets messy, and you never want her to be messy against you, but I think she's probably super fun to hang out with. I think she's probably super fun. But they all get dressed up in their Talladega outfits. And then they go to, I thought they were going to go do go-karts or something. It's, the outfits are so over the top. And like some of them are like sexy race car drivers.
Yeah.
Jasmine was in these boots with these giant heels and short, like she looks super hot. But it was just very funny because I was like, where are they going? Did you know what was coming?
No, I thought they were going to go actually race cars and or go-karts.
They're racing these little
RC cars.
Yeah, that are probably like the size of your torso at most. And I was like, this looks fucking dumb. And then I started watching them do it and I was like, oh, I would do that in 2 seconds. That actually looks awesome.
Yeah.
Because you can do that drinking. You probably can't do the go-karts drinking like you could do that. And we know that they all need to be drinking the entire time.
Yeah.
And so that's super fun, unfortunately, because
until
we can't this way we can't have nice things. Although I think Jesse had a good point. Jesse had told Jax that they were going on this trip.
Yeah.
Jax is in rehab. Yeah. Is it rehab or a mental health facility? I'm still not clear on where he was. But he's in this place for his mental health. He's going to therapy for like 7 hours a day. They'll do therapy for an hour and then they get a little break and then therapy again. So he's going therapy, rage text Brittany. Therapy, rage text Brittany. Therapy, rage text Brittany.
Yeah.
And the stuff that he is saying to her is vile.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. I have pages of it. Wow. Let's see. Please don't lie to me. He's a liar. Could you talk to me? Not playing your games. Just be honest. I want this place to work for me, and I will crumble if I find out what you are doing. You took my son from me. You're disgusting. You took my job away from me. I worked so hard for 2 years for this, and you took it from me. I'm doing this for my son. Your family is the most fucked up I've ever seen, and they would never do what you did. I will never ever forgive you. You destroyed the only thing I love doing. Can you please call me? This is important. I'm in a mental health clinic and you're not answering my phone calls.
I mean, insanity.
Oh, yeah. And then he's texting Kristen because Kristen is trying to help Brittany.
Well, he's being like, I love this place. This place is great.
Yeah.
He's telling every other person how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
And then saying, yeah, she won't check in on me. She won't answer my calls. She's probably sending photos to Julian. And at this point, everyone knows that she's not even talking to Julian anymore.
Yeah. Nowhere near.
So Jesse, they're like, Jesse, why did you tell Jax? He's like, I told Jax. And she's like, why would you tell him that?
Yep.
And he's like, don't you think, they're like, he doesn't need a reason an excuse to leave rehab.
Yeah.
He goes, don't you think it would be worse if he didn't know that we were in Santa Barbara and then found out about it through social media? And then that's why he's much more likely to leave because he's surprised by something, which I think is probably true. I think that Jax is going to leave if he can leave, is what it is. Like, any excuse he can find.
If he's going to leave either way, if that is your argument, why are you telling him? Just don't tell him. He's going
don't
to
get involved.
That's your theory that he's going to leave either way. Then just don't tell him.
Jesse and Jax, I think, are so similar.
Yeah.
And they sit there and they talk each other up, and then they create this structure of logic that has no foundation.
Oh yeah.
But they're able to build this we're right, we're the victims in this scenario together, and then they're just in their own echo chamber, and they don't even hear themselves. Jax then also, even in the after show, so this is how many months later, he's like, it really would have meant so much to me if she had just left me a note. If she had sent me a text and said, we're thinking about you, we'll be here when you come back. And maybe I would have made it if I had gotten more support from her. He, right now, is still blaming Brittany for not sticking it out the first time. We haven't seen it yet in the show, but we know that he doesn't stick it out like he's supposed to. That's fucking obnoxious. Brittany in the after show was like, he expected me to be this loving, supportive wife while he is in there. He threw a table at her, and he's like, why aren't you supporting me? He even says, I know I don't deserve it, but couldn't she have just blah, blah, blah? And then he turns her into this villain for this thing that he starts off his diatribe against her with, I know I don't deserve it, but would it have been that hard? And you're like, you are sick. Actually, speaking of you are sick, he says, we said in sickness and in health.
Oh. And
I'm sick right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
That took my breath away. It was so awful.
Yeah, that was gross.
And one of the many things that Jesse said that was really shitty in one of the interviews is he's like, we're here and we're supporting Brittany and I believe in that, but doesn't Jax also deserve support? That is a hard pill for me to swallow, because I think that while I 100% believe that Jax is an addict, what was the super interesting thing that Zach said on Watch What Happens Life? He thinks that this sober, recovering addict version of Jax is the worst he's ever dealt with. And he's known him for over a decade. And Jax right now is worse than he's ever been before. Yeah. There's definitely something to be said about the fact that I genuinely believe that Jax has weaponized his recovery against Brittany. Oh, yeah. And it's so fucked up. So I think that there are people who go through the recovery process and kind of like Danny would never behave the way he behaved drunk if he was sober. He will, right? Yeah. Jax gets worse. He will 100% continue that behavior, even if he's sober. And I think that goes to show, you can be a recovering addict and still a bad person. You can be an addict and a
Yeah.
good person.
Yeah.
Jax is just a shitty person. It doesn't matter what substance is going through him.
Yeah. Agree.
So, although he
That
does
is-
admit to being a narcissist.
Oh, he's definitely a narcissist for sure.
And I think that word gets thrown around a lot. I think that people like to diagnose others with it a lot. In this case, I 100% think Jax is a narcissist.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely a diagnosed narcissist.
But back to the race cars. Race cars is fun. I would do race cars. It's on like a dirt track that's massive. The thing that I forgot to mention that gets brought up multiple times, that if you guys haven't seen it, it's worth looking it up online. Jesse Lally decides that he needs to take off his shirt. Everyone's in their race car racing outfits. He got an actual like Formula One race car outfit instead of like a,
Well, it's a one
Spirit
piece
Halloween
suit.
yeah, it's like a jumpsuit.
Yeah, jumpsuit that zips up, and he unzipped it and
And
pulled
has it
the
all
top
like down and
down.
he's shirtless.
Ugh.
And he even says, listen, I got hot. I need to take my shirt off. My nipples are on the smaller side and they always point east to west. They were, I don't think I've ever seen nipples like that. And you and I have had conversations
Yeah.
about what constitutes a good nipple versus a bad nipple.
Yeah.
And I think it's like porn. I can't explain where that line is, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
And that's what good nipples versus bad nipples are. And Jesse Lally has bad nipples.
Bad. Very,
Bad
very.
nipples. Ooh. Which is why are the guys that have the bad nipples the first to show them off?
It was grotesque. And the slow-mo walking and the way they did the background, it was all blurred out like you're on Zoom. No. Nobody wants that. Please stop.
Sexy saxophone. I think in his mind, I think he's like, I've been working out. Michelle's going to see this and really have some regrets. I don't think that's what she felt.
Nobody thought that.
No one looked at that and went, ooh. Everyone was like, what's
None
happening?
of the women did.
Can we talk about Michelle's boyfriend really quick, though? I've never seen his eyes close.
The eyes.
The eyes.
Aaron and his eyes.
Aaron has very large eyes that are always open.
Yes. Yes.
Even when they're kissing.
Yes. It's disturbing.
Yeah.
Just to say the least. I'm confused about it.
Well, he looks shocked constantly.
Yeah. Not quite sure what he's thinking about to have that.
Probably he's stressed out because he's dealing with Jesse Lally possibly at all times in his periphery.
Did you know that his white honey company, so his honey company, did you know it's based on the schmocaine concept?
I don't know anything about this.
So it's called Kilo honey.
Oh, yes, I did know that. I did know that.
And his marketing is, so you cut a kilo of the white honey. His white honey is addictive. If you look it up, every part of his concept has something to do based on the schmocaine, getting addicted to it. So you cut it, you snort it, right? All of those verbiage he uses in his selling points. And there is a video of him in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, somewhere in California, dressed up like, Miami Vice. And he's got a suitcase of his honey that he's trying to sell to people, like undercover, like drugs. He's opening it and saying, do you want a kilo? Do you want a kilo? And it's a little disturbing to me. I'm confused. I think it's supposed to be funny.
I'm sure it is. I think, how sometimes you've got a joke and then you tell someone the joke and then but he went all in for no good.
You should look it up.
I'm going to look it up. I remember seeing them and Michelle brought some for
Yeah,
Andy
Andy.
Cohen. All right.
Yes. And him with his eyes.
After all those Jax memes with cocaine, I don't.
Yes.
Aaron, it's time to pivot. It's time to pivot.
No. Anyway, so I digress. Continue.
Well, yeah, I'm just a little not really into it.
Mm-hmm. Jesse confronts Janet about his ex-girlfriend or ex.
Yeah, he's like, why you're telling people not to follow her on Instagram? And she's like, I've never told anyone to unfollow her, not to follow her or block her on Instagram. And he goes, yeah, you did. You told your husband. She's like, that's my husband. Doesn't count. I'm allowed to tell him not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Which I agree with Janet. I'm not telling everyone, but I can say you and I are a united front.
Right.
You block her. She threatened to sue me. And I would expect my lawyer husband to follow suit.
Right.
Matt doesn't follow anyone on anywhere.
Yeah.
So if I told him to block somebody, I'm sure he would in 2 seconds.
Yeah. And can I just say, if someone's going to tell me something, I'm going to tell my husband. If something happens, I'm going to go tell him. What are you talking about? What? No.
Sorry, everybody. No, there are some secrets that I keep right here to myself. But look, 95% of everything, Matt, I have to talk through. I don't think Matt wants to know all of it, but he's going to hear them.
That's probably true, but...
Sorry, Matt.
He's going to hear them. Yeah. What bothered me about that interchange is Jason, my friend, did not stand up for his wife. He let Jesse be an asshole to Janet. Again, metal tasting in my mouth. I'm standing up for Janet.
I'm going to agree to disagree. I think that it's not really Jason's personality to jump in. When we'll talk about it, they do some spiritual awakening stuff that we'll get into. But his thing that he calls in for himself is confidence. I think that he naturally is probably very quiet and very conflict averse. That's why he comes across as so like even keeled and calm, is because he's actually not able to engage in that way. And I think that that's why he's with Janet, because Janet, she's like, I'll fucking start a fight for no reason. Should we make up a fight? Like, I think that she had that handled in a way that he didn't really need to. Now, I think the fact that he remains friends with someone who would talk to his wife that way, especially after we all know, he was like, you're spreading lies about her seeing other people. They cut to even in the show.
Yeah.
Where Michelle's like, yeah, I'm not spreading a rumor that I made up. She said it to people. And he's like, no, that's not true. Let's call Sheena and find out. And she was like, verbatim, she's also seeing the guy from Baywatch. So Jesse had that conversation with Michelle and is still being like, Janet, don't spread these lies. When he's already had it confirmed from outside sources.
Yeah.
Named Sheena Shea.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that he's still close friends with Jesse after Jesse's going after his wife in this way.
And Jesse's handing out white flags at the beginning. I mean, what a total fucking asshole. I mean, we don't need to see East and West nipples and then you attacking Janet, right? With nothing. You're lying, basically.
With nothing.
With nothing.
And then he's saying, you know, I don't know how you're taking her side when she cheated on me. And then Janet, with the line of the night was, if I'd been your wife, I'd be cheating on you too.
That's exactly what I said last week, man. 100%.
I wonder if that's also Jesse and Janet's dynamic to like be at each other. And so it's like, why get involved? Because those two are just going to be doing whatever they're doing.
I don't know.
Not get involved.
I don't know. Jason is an attorney. Attorneys argue. Attorneys know how to confront and talk. It just bothered me that he didn't say, hey man, shut the fuck up. What are you doing? Just stop. Right. Stop coming at my wife. But I guess you're right. I don't know. I didn't like it. It pissed me off. The second time in a row. Yeah. No, it wasn't great.
Speaking of Janet, after they do the race car thing, they all go back.
Yeah.
And first he pulls Michelle aside and he's like, do you think I should try and have a conversation with Jana? Because Like, maybe we can move forward. And then Janet walks up and he's like, I should get you a beer. And she's like, okay, I drink IPAs now. And he's like, what is an IPA? Then he grabs her a beer and he's like, can we go outside and talk? And so they decide to go outside and talk. And they have the weirdest conversation. I don't know how they ended that conversation on a good note, but I think both of them were like, it's all petty shit. I'm exhausted. Can we call a truce?
Yeah.
But neither of them apologized. He did apologize.
Yeah.
And I think he was genuine with his apologies, but he was also like, I think 75% of this is my fault.
Yeah.
But some of this is your fault too. And she's like, no, it's not. Janet was just like, I'm going to let you talk. And she just let him go and go and go. And then when he'd be like, don't you think you maybe have something to apologize for? And she's like, I don't know what you mean. And then he's like, I think I'm going to cry. It was interesting because she said, you know, when Brittany called me and said that we need to go to lunch the next day to tell me what you said, and that blew his mind.
Yeah. Here we go again.
Exactly what you and I said, where I kind of blame Brittany for a lot of this. I don't think Janet needed to hear that. I certainly don't think Janet needed to hear that when she was pregnant. They talk about it in the after show. Nia says, you know what? I think that in the moment she thought she was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
In Watch What Happens Live, they actually did a poll. And what is your vote? Did Brittany do the right thing, or should she have kept her mouth shut?
Oh, I think Brittany should have kept her mouth shut, but that's me.
Nope, I agree with you.
Okay.
And so does the poll on Watch What Happens Live.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I think it was like 20% of people were like, she did the right thing. Like,
no. Yeah, Brittany is good girl.
Not a fan of that.
Yeah.
It was funny because he was like, we used to be so close. And she's like, we don't have to be best friends after this. And you see him kind of taken aback. Like, he was like, I thought we could get close again. And then in the after show, he's like, she and I were really close. Like, we had a very close friendship. And immediately they cut to her being interviewed in another room going, Zach and I weren't that close.
We were never close.
It was just that he was Jasmine's roommate. And that's why we spent time together. We never got lunch just one-on-one. So I think that he put her a little bit higher than she put him.
Yeah.
And so that
Sometimes
probably
that happens. Yeah, that hurt his feelings. Well, and he got upset and was crying in the bedroom about what he heard. Brittany went in there. What's going on?
Why are you crying?
Yes, and everything. Yeah. I was going to say everything is better when you bury your face in someone's boobs. So
that's true. Thank you for bringing this up. Because I 100% agree with you. And it's actually happened to me a couple times in my life where that has genuinely soothed me. 2 times. Once was when I was about to get my epidural and get a C-section when I was pregnant with the boys. And this woman was having me hold the pillow and like getting me set up. And I was totally calm until that point. And then all of a sudden it hit me that like, I'm about to get cut open. I'm about to have a giant needle in my back. I'm about to have 2 babies. And all of a sudden I freaked out and she goes, it's okay. Hold the pillow, hug the pillow. And then you're going to lean onto me. And she just shoved my face into these gigantic titties, like bigger than my head, both of them. And I just like, it wasn't the epidural. It was the boobs. And I just went, oh, everything's fine.
Yep.
And then also the hospice nurse, when Grandma died, she was very tall. She was great. She was amazing. Shout out to hospice nurses. I have only had amazing interactions with them. She was very tall. I was standing and I started to tear up and she goes, oh, come here. And she just like grabbed the back of my head and the small of my back and just shoved my face right into her boobs. And I was like, this is great.
Here I am.
Grandma would have loved this for me. Because there's nothing that Grandma loved more than some big old titties. And that's what I got in that moment. Yeah. So Brittany solves her friendship problems with Zach in that moment by shoving his face in her tits.
Yep. It was
because they're universally fantastic. I do like that he was very direct with her. He was I didn't realize you shouldn't have done that. And she was like, I think it was the right thing to do. And they just go, agree to disagree and move forward, which is ideal. If you're going to have a good friendship, sometimes that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Then Kristen realizes that she's really bad at tracking her ovulation. And it didn't make sense. She thought she was going to be having sex all weekend to make a baby. And then it turns out that maybe only that first sex possibly made a baby. And that sucks. And so she's crying and upset. And she gets good support from Luke and from Nia. Like, I really like their friendship.
Yeah.
I think that Nia is like this, like, younger, hotter thing for Kristen to aspire to.
Yeah.
And she's also way chiller. Which doesn't make any sense considering that her life is chaos. But for some reason, she's very zen about it all. So poor Kristen. In this moment, you could see she was just like, I don't want to deal with these fucking people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she had organized this healing ceremony with this, what was she?
I wrote down, it said spiritual guide next to her name.
Guide.
Yeah.
Her name's Willa. Kristen had this idea of like this healing ceremony that maybe is nothing can ever fix all of the problems in this group, but maybe something that can start to heal and mend some bridges. Brittany would not buy in. Brittany was the Florian of the group.
Oh God, yes. All she wanted to do was smoke pot and laugh the whole time. What I thought was interesting was it was daytime when Willa got there, and it took the entire time for them to make dinner, sit down and eat dinner, and it was dark and nighttime by the time Willa got her yoga mats set up for them to go outside. How long, Willa, does that take for you to do all of that?
I don't know.
That was awesome.
She was too busy. She was communing with the earth before.
Okay.
I think she actually said she had done that.
Okay.
And, the sunset. I don't think that everyone knew that was going to happen. And I think that there's a little bit of mental preparation, especially if you're a skeptic, to get on board with it, or at least to give enough buy-in that you're not going to be giggling incessantly the whole time.
Yep.
Plus, everyone's drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't help either. So there's either the people that are definitely taking it seriously and the people who physically cannot take it seriously.
Yeah.
One of the things that they do is they do this earth mandala. She brought all of these flowers and sticks and things of nature, and you pick a thing and then you start building the mandala and you call in what you want for yourself or for the group. And then you release something else.
Yeah.
And there were a couple different things that everyone said. I don't remember anything specific off my head that I thought was amazing. Did you?
No, I wrote it down, but it wasn't great. People said, they want to release resentment, call in sparkle, release insecurity, call in anxiety. I mean, just basic stuff like that. I mean, nobody had anything earth-shattering to say.
Realize that I am saying this from a place of privilege, but if I never hear get my sparkle back, it'll be too soon.
Oh God. Okay.
I think Sheena Shea said it, and now Brittany's saying it, and it's like the new version of got my groove back.
Yeah.
I just don't want to hear it anymore.
So Jesse is so drunk that he cries after Michelle gets up and says, bring in happiness and a new life and love, because she's doing great, and Jesse can't handle that because he's not in control of her anymore. So he starts crying, and he's a petulant child and says, pass, not gonna do it, and starts bawling, right? So that's fun to watch.
He's not gonna participate.
No. What did you think about what Jason said about Jax?
I think that Jason's well-intentioned. I think it's hopeful, right? I think it's a hopeful message to say, like, I hope that he can get this figured out. I think he's realistic. I think deep down he knows that this is not going to work out. This isn't going well. Because even he said at the racetrack, when they're talking about all the awful texts that he's sending Brittany, he said, even I'm getting text messages. He's still very upset at Brittany and blaming Brittany for this. But maybe he can get this figured out. And I think when you're dealing with someone who is in active addiction, you have to be hopeful. You have to say, I hope that this gets figured out. Let's go with the energy of like, maybe this can do it. And I think you have to have that stance of being open to this could work out. But I also 100% think that you need to be prepared for it to not work out. I think having a positive attitude about it and being hopeful about it is good, but I also think that everyone knows that this is gonna go down in flames. So I think it was a nice gesture, and I think he was trying to be positive, but also maybe it would have been nicer to not hear about Jax at all. But Brittany wasn't taking the whole thing seriously anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Also, who else wasn't taking it seriously? Not taking it seriously, but Nia and Danny,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't like when she would call in the mother goddess, and they were like, our only god is upstairs. That's the only one I'm going to call in.
Ew.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a religious person. I don't know if you heard that when I said I don't believe in God in the last time.
Yeah.
But they were like, I can't participate in that part of it because it's against our religion.
I mean, they talked, was the first or second episode that they go to church a lot. Yeah.
They do then a gratitude ball thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is actually a fantastic exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And Brittany started with it, and she has to say something that she's feeling gratitude for, and then she hands it off to Jesse, and Jesse starts sobbing and has like a full breakdown because of what a toxic situation he is in.
Yeah. Which he has made. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
You have created that.
You're a victim of yourself in this.
Yeah.
If you just let her leave,
Yeah.
it would be so easy.
Yeah.
He's choosing to make this difficult.
Yeah.
But he does say that he's most grateful for how well Isabella is doing, their daughter, and how well she's navigating that.
Yeah. That was nice.
Which was a nice thing, but also we all know that a huge reason their marriage fell apart is because he wasn't a super involved father until everything fell apart. Even now, Michelle's like, he's a very good dad. I'm grateful that he's a very good dad.
Well, he's forced to be. That's what the problem is. He's forced to, well, I mean, maybe not, because we heard that he has, I don't know how many unknown named nannies.
Then he passes the ball to Michelle. I guess the concept was of this that you needed to say what you're grateful for, because it was supposed to be bringing the group back together and healing the group. You have to say something that you're grateful for in your relationship with that person. And she was like, she couldn't think of anything. And she said, I think a couple things that were like hard to hear for him that I think if you were anybody that would be suck ass. But then she said, I'm grateful for the most beautiful time we had together is when we were deciding to have a child together. And that was that's a time that I'm grateful for, which is beautiful, I think, and a kind thing to say. He got up and ran out because that's tough. That was a tough thing to hear. And before he ran away, he yells at Zach for rolling his eyes.
Yeah.
And watch what happens live. They're like, do you regret doing that? And he's like, no. He was wasted and he was being a dick.
Yeah.
And none of that felt genuine.
Yeah. Yeah. And even Michelle said he was drunk, right? He had been drinking all day.
So Jesse runs upstairs. Jason goes after him to try and see, poor Jason's supporting everybody. He's got, except for his wife.
Yeah.
So he goes after him to see what's going on and like if he can be helpful. And for some reason, Jesse has stripped down to his underwear.
Why? Why is he naked? Why?
You're not a drunk naked person?
No.
You get like real hot and you're like, I just need to be in my underwear.
Okay.
That's what I assume happened.
No. And those underwear did not fit him at all. No.
They were like a balloon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it was tighter on the legs, it was tighter on the waist, and then everything ballooned out.
Yes. And they discussed the after show. The boys were like, you wear boxers or briefs, right? All the boys were like, boxers, I gotta have it held in. But are those briefs from your high school years? What, they were all stretched out, and what were we doing?
Rough. They looked like they were on their last legs. And then along with the underwear, we also saw he has a bad tribal tattoo.
Oh, horrible.
It was not good.
It was so bad.
It was not good.
Yeah.
They did talk about also, I guess there was some drama online, and I'm wondering if you saw it, because I didn't actually see it until today. Randomly came across my feed. They were talking about the men's underwear, and they were like, Jax, what underwear do you wear? Looks like none. And he's like, yeah, I can't. So Jax explains that he is so well endowed that he has to readjust himself, and there's a paparazzi shot of him adjusting himself, but there's so much neck showing. You don't accidentally do that. Like, oh, sometimes it's just so big.
No.
He didn't need to do this.
No.
And he's like, I guess it was a slow news day. Sometimes you just have to take your dick out. And you're like, he's just walking down the street.
Yeah.
And he had to adjust. And he's like, I don't usually. He's like, sorry, that's just a problem I have because I'm very well endowed.
Okay.
All right.
Nope.
Okay.
Never heard of that before.
Just more awfulness from Jax.
Jax being a narcissist. Again.
And just generally gross. So next week looks boring.
Yeah.
Not boring. But it looks like we're going to have, no pun intended, a little bit of a valley.
Yeah.
For the drama for a little bit. But we know that Jax is going to leave rehab early. So
yeah,
we'll see how far we are into the season before that happens. Now that we finished the valley is going to be great no matter what. Even a valley in the valley is going to be, like, I'm excited about it all. But you are the one who shows me the good true crime.
Yeah.
So we also watched Southern Fried Lies, which was on
Peacock.
And it was fascinating. It was
messy. I actually drew out a family tree because I couldn't keep track of all of the people. Like, there was so many branches of people that were attached to this one person.
Yeah, it all centers around Donna Herring.
Yeah.
Who is a realtor in Camden, Southern Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I can't do the accent, but it was
amazing.
Hilarious. I loved it. But it's a super, super small town. It was built around a sawmill, and they have a gas station, and that's their main drag.
Yeah.
So Donna Herring is kind of the center of this thing, and she's the first person that you see in this documentary. And she is in there, and she is confident, and she's very self-important.
Boy, yes.
She reminds me of my mother, to be honest. Donna is introducing us to this kid named Matthew Seth Jacobs. And he was basically the richest kid in town. And that is because he had been on, and I only knew about this from the movie, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't even realize it was a real thing.
Really?
Is it called Deepwater Horizon?
Yes.
So he was on like an oil rig, which is a super intense job. It had that explosion, and like 11 people died. He fell during the explosion and hurt himself pretty badly.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting a settlement because it fucked up his hip.
Yeah.
And he had really awful PTSD from this and got that $1.7 million to $2 million settlement.
Yeah.
And he comes back after that happened to this small town, and he's suddenly rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
He has, his brother is there. His mom had died. He's got an older brother that's like 10 years older than him, and he's kind of close with that family. He also has a son that he had when he was younger. As he's in that town, he's, got all this money. He doesn't know what to do with himself. So he decides he's going to buy some property, and he goes into the real estate office, and he ends up buying a house. And some people say that Donna sold him the house. She swears she didn't. She was just there to help him sign paperwork, but they just hit it off. She's like, oh, I'm going to take care of this boy. He was like a son to me. And she starts cooking him meals every day. She's taking him lunch. They're talking all the time. And she introduces him to her daughter. He and her daughter fall in love. As she's telling the story, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. And then like he has this family. She's treating him like she's his mom, which he didn't have anymore, and he was really needing that support. But then you find out how old he was and how old her daughter was.
Yes. He is 31 and she is 18. Yeah.
What mom sets that up?
Well, a mom that wants $1.7 million. That's what. And she's bringing him meals and going over there all the time because their houses are in the same neighborhood, on the same street, living very close to each other. So that's why they are technically, quote unquote, so close that they're able to do that.
She also, he doesn't know what he's going to do with himself. She sets him up with a job through a company owned by her husband. He starts working pretty closely with this other guy, and they are running this Meeks pest control. He got his own shirts made. He was so proud of this job that he had. He loved doing this pest control job so much that he got his own shirts made. And Donna's husband, who owns this company, is known as Daddy Doug. Mm-hmm. But Daddy Doug is not in this documentary. He will not be interviewed. Which tings off something for me. And you also learn that he's feeling through Donna. Donna explains that he's feeling very taken advantage of by his family. He got all this money. And all of a sudden, they're like, oh, we should go on these trips. Oh, we should go out to dinner. And he's footing the bill every time. And Donna says that he felt very resentful of that. He's dating her daughter. When she's 18, they get engaged. And he had actually been married twice before and was described as a womanizer and super lady crazy. I don't know. What's the boy version? Like, you've heard boy crazy. Like, what's the boy version of that?
No, he's just a womanizer, yeah. Well, he's 31, so yeah, of course he's probably been married a couple of times because he's 31. He's not 18, right?
No.
I mean, holy smokes.
Alex and Matt had been together for about 2 years. So if they were engaged when she was 18 and they were together for about 2 years, they were probably together before she was 18, which is icky a bicky. And the thing that makes it ickier is that Matt has a son named Jordan who's the same age, which is very weird and uncomfortable. Where Matt and his son used to be very close, things have kind of changed since he started dating someone that's the same age as his son. So this all comes to a head. We've given you all the background. January 19th of 2015, there is horrific car accident. Matt has driven across 5 lanes of traffic and slammed headfirst into a tree. Somehow they end up telling Donna first, and Donna gets there and realizes that he's died in this car accident, which is really horrible and sad and awful. She goes with the sheriff, and you find out this is a small town. Donna's best friends with everybody in law enforcement. Mm-hmm. She goes with the sheriff to go tell his brother Lance that his brother's dead. And Donna immediately goes into protective mode. Hey, we need to protect Matt's things. And she's telling Lance this when she's also just told him that his brother's dead. To protect Matt and Alex, which is super odd. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that even mean? And why is that your first thought when someone dies? Yeah. Especially if it was a surprise. Yeah. I think everyone was kind of in a haze, and all of a sudden Donna is taking over everything. She's orchestrating the funeral. Lance's wife basically says that they didn't really have a chance to grieve and feel their feelings because they were too busy being wherever and doing whatever Donna said that they needed to do.
Yeah, he died on a Monday. They had the funeral on a Thursday. And Donna claimed that there was a will that Lance and Shauna, his wife, had never heard about. That Donna said that there was a will in Matt's safe. Lance and Shauna said, what will? We know everything, the contents of that safe, and there is no will in that safe. And Donna says, well, I know the numbers, I know how to get into the safe, and I have seen it before. So
in that will, it left everything to his fiance, Alex.
Yeah, her daughter.
Except for $50,000, which was to go to Jordan, his son, for college.
And Jordan said that didn't make sense because my dad knew that I didn't want to go to college. My dad knew that I was going to go on an oil rig. So Lance and Shauna and Jordan were like, this also doesn't make sense. We don't know what's going on. First, they didn't tell us that he was dead first because we're next of kin. Now there's this will that we've never heard about. And what's going on? Plus, we don't understand how he died. He's driven that road a million times. He was by himself. There was no brake marks on the highway. We don't understand what's going on. So
no, they tested his blood, and that showed nothing. Based on what they could see, they decided not to do an autopsy. But then 11 months later, they go through probate, and Alex gets $884,000. And she immediately starts blowing the money. They're going on trips. She's bought cars. They're buying pontoon party boats. And she has a new boyfriend that she's posting on her Instagram 3 months later on all the trips that they're going on. And that just doesn't sit right with anybody. You know, they don't like this at all. So Lance goes, this sucks. I'm going to contact an attorney. Like, we've got to figure out what's actually going on. Like, none of this actually makes sense. And the part that really bothered me the most about this is as they start investigating, Jordan is 18 when his dad dies. And there had already been a little bit of an estrangement happening because of Alex. And he thinks that his dad had that will and said, here's $50,000 to go to college. And that felt like a fuck you. Yeah. Like, we've talked about, I want to follow in your footsteps. And you said that you were supportive. And then you write in your will that you expect me to go do something that we both knew I didn't want to do. It just really hurt him. Yeah. In April of 2016, Lance reaches out. And he was trying to find attorneys in, was it Little Rock? Yes. The only one that calls him back is an attorney named Adam Reed. And he's looking at the will, and it's like, there's no legal significance to, in that will, it's saying, I attest that I am engaged to Alex. That doesn't mean really anything. So, and the wording seemed weird. So he ended up looking up the website, like a LegalZoom website. And he ends up looking it up to get the information about when this will came about and what's the history of it. And it turns out that it was made in January 24th of 2015, which is after Matt died. Yeah. So what's actually happened is Donna Herring drafted that will. She made that will. And the part that's worse about that is she like goes, oh, I'm going to be here for Jordan. Jordan, I'm going to be like your mom. If there had been no will, the money would have gone to, I assume, his son. All of the money would have gone to his son, right? Or would it go to his brother?
Probably his son.
Probably his son. Yeah. And she's taken this from him. And then she's like, I'm here for you. I'm going to help take care of you. After she's literally stolen almost $1 million from him. She had her sister and her sister's husband sign off of it and pretend that they had signed it in 2014. She also, for some reason, was the person handling the paperwork for his body and had marked it to be cremated. Who got to make that decision? Matt's mother had died, and at the plot, there was a resting place for him next to his mom, and I guess everyone had said that that's where they wanted to be buried. So that's what he had expected. But as this is all getting investigated, so Lance is looking into it, they can't go and talk to Donna. They can't let her know what they know and that they're looking into it. But Jordan runs into one of Matt's good friends, who it comes up that Matt had a conversation with him a week before he died. And the conversation was that he feels like he's neglecting his son. He feels distant from his son, and he's really regretful of that. And a lot of that is being traced back to he and Alex are really having problems. He's feeling really forced into this relationship with this girl, and he doesn't know what to do. And his friend counsels him, maybe this isn't the right relationship to you. And they both cry a little and hug. And he goes, yeah, I think you're right. Thank you for talking to me about this. I think I think it's time to end it with Alex. We also find out not only that, but that Matt's been actually seeing somebody else on the side. Matt's been seeing this other girl named Lori. They met because he was doing pest control at her dad's house.
Yep.
And they hit it off and they start seeing each other for a couple months. And so he's, like we said, he's a womanizer. He's seeing a girl while he's engaged to somebody else. That's not great. Allegedly, based on the text messages that they find on the phones, they figure out that he had actually left Donna's house that night that he died and was on his way to go see Lori.
Yeah.
Donna had said, I think he was just really tired that night and he had been stressed out or something and maybe he wasn't paying attention and he drove off the road. And his son was like, if he was driving on his way on this road that he drives all the time to go see a woman, being tired was the last problem he was having.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Especially if you're a guy.
Right?
Come on.
That'll wake you right up.
Right, exactly. Plus, in the accident report, they said the airbag deployed, but there was no blood in the car. They said that they had, there was no trauma to his head and his chest. Like, none of it was making any sense.
Things just didn't add up, really.
Yeah.
And then to make everything weird, Matt had been working at Meek's Pest Control with a man named Jimmy Davis. And Jimmy Davis was known around town as just like this sweet, smiley, happy guy. He and Matt had become good friends because they're working together every day for 8 hours a day, doing this pest control business. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Davis shows up dead.
Yep.
They find his body underneath a bridge. The last time he had been seen was at a convenience store, buying a case of beer, walking home. Someone saw him standing on the bridge, looking out over the water. It feels weird. It could be completely explained by he was drunk and fell over the side of this bridge. But he's been walking over that bridge for the last 20 years.
Right.
This just happens to be around the same time that they're starting to look into what's going on with Matt's death and what's going on with that will and why are these things not adding up. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy, who spent a lot of time with Matt, is suddenly dead. That's, 5 months after Matt died that happened?
And he was also in the same conversation with the gentleman, Jeff, that Matt disclosed that he was having a hard time with Alex and said, maybe I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. So Jimmy was in that conversation as well. Jimmy knew about that also. So it was a lot of circumstantial.
A lot of circumstantial stuff and a lot of stuff that we're also seeing. Donna had a lot more reach in this town than makes any sense. They're doing the interviews and you're seeing not only the chief of police eating at her house, hanging out, getting, encouraged by Donna for doing such a good job at his work, but also the coroner, who not all the reports match up. It's just a weird thing. Also, did you get the part where she was talking about her home decor? They've got like a very farmhouse, country looking house.
Yeah.
And she's got two main themes in her house of decor, and that is snowmen and roosters.
Yeah.
Because they're the only two kinds of men that you can do something to if they make you mad and you won't get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's a fucking weird thing to say.
It is weird. Why would you say that? That you can do something to do. I don't understand that. But yeah, the chief of police, why would his interview describing Jimmy Davis's death and how he died, he's sitting in her kitchen and she's sitting next to him. Why is his interview in her home and why does she have to sit next to him? It was very weird. Why?
It's super weird. Well, I do love that this whole documentary is really based on her narration of things. But the more information that you get, that they give you where she's not included in them, you realize the people who are making this documentary do not trust her at all.
Oh, yeah.
But she is so confident, like blatantly self-assured and confident. It's wild.
Yeah.
So now that they've established more and more evidence about this fake will, The attorney ends up moving forward, and the FBI gets involved because the website that built the will is located in California or Washington.
Yeah.
In Seattle, I think. Seattle. So Washington, they're in Arkansas. That is considered wire fraud.
Yep.
And now the FBI is getting into it, which is so fun. I love ladies in the FBI. FBI ladies are my favorite people. I don't know any personally, but I would love to.
Yes, it was amazing.
Come be my best friend if you are an FBI lady. So they get everything together. The FBI starts working with the Arkansas State Police. They put together this whole big production. July 13th, 2016, 15 FBI agents are there, and they just descend on this tiny little town along with the state police. And they are doing interviews. They're conducting search warrants. They are hitting every single location at once so no one can talk to each other, so nothing can get moved around. What I thought was interesting is they were very surprised that Donna was just like happy to see them. Oh, hi. Well, how's it going?
Yeah.
And then she becomes bipolar and then also gets frustrated, and she's like, I'll help you with whatever, and then realizes that it's not going to go as well as she thought. And she admits in the interview to the FBI that, that isn't the real will. It's actually just a copy of the will. And that she adjusted the will at the direction of Matt's brother to make sure that they were protecting and helping Matt's son, Jordan.
Yeah.
And they added Jordan to the will because it originally wasn't going to have anything to do with him.
Oh, this woman.
Yeah. And she goes through the realtor's office. She finds Matt's old paperwork, and she makes a photocopy and had taken out his signature from buying the house and used it on the paperwork on the will. She starts talking about how really what happened is Matt had been overprescribed medication from his doctors. Xanax, pain medication for his hip and PTSD from the accident. Alex also gets interviewed. Alex doesn't really want to talk to them. She's not trying to be super friendly. But she does cooperate, and they're like, well, we need his phone. Lance said that the night that Matt died, the police had given Lance Matt's phone. Lance gave the phone to Alex. They said, where's the phone? She goes, oh, I don't know what happened to it. And then you end up finding out she actually does still have the phone. Well, she doesn't have the phone. They wiped the phone and gave it to her new boyfriend.
Yeah. Dinnling. Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
They really weren't able to get much from the phone because it had been wiped. They did end up finding, or someone had seen, some pretty sexual texts that Matt had sent to his other girlfriend, Lori.
Mm-hmm.
So then they've got this information about Lori, so they go to Lori. And basically Lori's saying, yeah, they had been in the process of breaking up. He had wanted to break up. Alex knew that the relationship was over. Donna says that she had no idea that they were in the process of breaking up or that there were any problems between them. And so when she finds that out, she starts going after Lori. Mm-hmm. She's sending Lori some threatening messages. She's like, well, yeah, I was in mama bear mode. She was sleeping with my daughter's fiance. So I was very upset at her and said some awful things.
And Donna even says, I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared about anything. I wasn't worried. It was going to come back. What? Why would I be worried? What does that even mean? Holy cow, sis.
And Donna and Alex, Donna is obsessed with her daughter. Mm. And everyone talks about how she treats her daughter like she walks on water. Mm. She is a princess. She wants only the best for her. And what are the chances that if Alex had a little bit of a problem, that Donna wouldn't hear every single bit of it, right? And be involved in every single bit of it. It doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So the assistant U.S. attorney at this point is involved in this case. They've got their grand jury set up, and they're doing their timeline, and they're building this web of conspiracy with Donna in the center. And this is 2 years later that this all comes to a head, which is actually pretty quick.
Yep.
Right? Considering. Donna's charged. And her sister and brother-in-law are charged. And Alex is charged. Because Alex initially had lied to the FBI. So that's what she's getting charged with. The sister and brother-in-law are getting charged with falsifying records, or what is it? Fraud? Something like that.
The wire fraud, money laundering, and aggravated identity theft.
And so the whole town is like, oh my God, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that's all getting organized and put together. Before it goes to trial, they find Lori shot in her house, in her bed,
my God,
in the chest. They actually showed the police footage. And the neighbor is there, and she's like, oh my God, they had gone in, they found her in her pajamas, shot in her chest. And the neighbor's going, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I know that she has this trial coming up. Maybe it has something, she's supposed to be a witness for this trial. That's immediately what the neighbor thought that night. It was weird though, because you end up finding out that Lori had just gotten this devastating diagnosis of late stage lung cancer. Also that Lori had suffered with anxiety and depression for a long time. And the the rural juror, the coroner, says that it is a self-inflicted gun wound and that she had committed suicide. And they believe it's because she had gotten this awful diagnosis and decided to kill herself rather than go through that end-of-life process. And even the FBI agent that they were interviewing, she, I think, believes that as well. But I don't know. It seems very suspicious to me.
I don't know. They said that she was still breathing when they found her, and I don't understand why. Nobody seemed bothered or hurried up enough to try and save her life. They're all just like, oh, gunshot wound.
No, there's no
sad.
urgency in that police cam footage.
Not even. And it was an afterthought. They're like, oh yeah, she was breathing when we got there. You're like, what? She was breathing when you got there? And that's what we saw? That was bad. And so now we have 3 dead bodies.
All natural or self-inflicted or accidents. And before things go to trial, suddenly Donna goes from not guilty to all my fault. Pleads guilty. But she only has to plead guilty for 1 count of wire fraud. That's the deal that they worked out. How does this work? Who decides what these deals are?
So what they do is they negotiate back and forth. And how this works is, so you can take your chance with a jury and say, okay, I'm going to go to jury trial with all 3, 4, however many counts, right? And the jury could find you not guilty on all of them, and you could walk and go home, okay? Or you could negotiate with the FBI and the state and say, as the one being charged, will plead to this one, wire fraud. And you have to drop all the other ones, and I will do what you want me to do, go to prison, whatever. That's the deal. And then the state can say, no, I want you to plead to these 2, and then I'll drop the other 2. And then you can come back and be like, yeah, I'll do that. Or no, I still want to just plead to the 1. So they go back and forth and negotiate like that to be able to get a little skin in the game for each of them. So the defendant either doesn't go to jail and prison for their entire life, right? And the state still has the defendant, right, pleading guilty, having conviction on their record, and not taking the chance to go to jury trial and the jury saying, oh, you're not guilty, bye on all of it, right? Going to jury trial and being found guilty on everything, and you get the death penalty and you're dead, right? There's that too. So there's, you know what I mean? So yeah, it does seem sucky, and it does sound shitty that the state is agreeing to charge her and drop the rest of them, but there's skin in the game on one. Everybody's kind of getting a piece of the pie. Right? She's pleading to something, and she's having to do prison time. Right? And she's got a felony conviction on her record, right? She's a felon. That's what the state ultimately wants. They want this to follow her around. They want her to do prison time. And then she's like, okay, I'll do that. That's how these things work.
I don't know. It feels grimy to me, but I understand that there's...
It does.
Ugh, it's disappointing. And
the
family, Lance and Shauna and Jordan, are not really happy. They wish that had gone to trial.
Yep.
But Donna, she's a super confident woman. She goes into this and goes, all right, I'm pleading guilty. I'm guilty of all of it. That one thing. And yet somehow she's a smart lady. She still manages to get everybody else dirty in the process. She's not going down without a fight.
Yeah.
So I guess when you are pleading guilty, you have to write your statement. And in her statement, she's like, yep, it was me and Lance. Lance and Shauna were in on it too.
And that guy there.
He's bad. This guy that is going to probably get some money out of this, he's also really bad. And she says Lance was actually in on it. I don't know that I totally followed this part.
Yeah, no.
So she says, not only was Lance on it, I have the receipts. I have text messages between Lance and I.
Yeah.
And basically, she tells Lance that they need to do this will. And he and Shauna know that she wrote the will. And she says that he said, listen, you got to do it this way. And then what you'll do is give me half the money once Alex gets it. And I want all of the welding equipment that he has. I want the vehicles, the tractor. Why do people just have tractors in Arkansas?
I know.
Is that a normal thing to just have?
They have giant pieces of land.
She also says that Lance said that Matt couldn't stand that kid about Jordan. And that's why they only gave Jordan this tiny little bit. And she says they had found a paper with a draft will, basically that they had worked it all out together. But the whole thing doesn't really seem to hold water. I don't think that they ended up investigating Lance or Shauna either. No. But now that story's out there, so the town is like, who knows what happened?
Yeah.
She ends up getting 41 months in prison. And Jordan ends up getting $132,000. Back from Alex.
Out of the 800,000.
880 something, which seems kind of horrific and wrong.
Yeah.
Alex gets put on house arrest for lying to the FBI. I think there were 3 houses, like property. I guess that's probably a big part of that, is that those houses were probably a big chunk of the money. That goes to Jordan as well.
Yeah.
Donna feels like she has paid her debt to society by going to prison. She ended up getting out early because COVID hit. And she's a good Christian woman. She's very into telling everybody about how God has saved her and that sort of thing. However, she didn't really get out of this unscathed. I mean, she is a felon. But right now, her daughter doesn't talk to her. That is clearly because of the shit that she has done.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all going to be on probation. And so that kind of feels good.
That was insane. Her PO actually came in during the filming of it, which was pretty funny, to check on her. I thought that was comical.
Yeah. And so they're talking about like why they've made this documentary. And they're interviewing people in the town, and even the town's like, I don't know what to believe. Everyone gossips. Everyone has a different version of this story, but maybe as time goes on, they suspect maybe she poisoned Matt.
Oh yeah.
They didn't do it. They had actually had to exhume. We forgot to talk about, they got his body exhumed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that whole thing was a mess too. The FBI fought to get that done. And then all of a sudden, they're like, it's kind of getting fought. The coroner then all of a sudden decides to do it when no one's there and no one's looking. And it's, I'm assuming, typically a pretty well organized process. Somebody calls the family, lets them know. Lance and Jordan get there immediately, and they're like, why is the FBI not here? Why are you doing this? They drop the casket like 3 times as they're pulling it out.
Yeah.
But they tested his blood for 300 different things, this drug panel, but there's a lot of things that wouldn't show up on that. Unless you know exactly what you're looking for, they can't really test for it. So it's suspicious because her husband owns a pest control company, and they probably know what they could put in there that wouldn't be tested for, probably. The whole thing feels very unresolved. Donna seems very proud of herself.
Oh, very comfortable.
So I wonder if in a couple years we're going to hear a new chapter to this story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is true crime with no official murder.
Mm-hmm.
But it sure does feel like it, since all those bodies popped up that were related to her in such a short span of time.
Incredible. I think she pled guilty right after Lori committed suicide because she knew there was nothing left to point the finger at her. I know 100% that was it. She was like,
no loose
okay,
ends anymore.
I'm good. Now I can move on. I can make a deal now. That's what that was. 100% gross.
I highly suggest watching this just to see her demeanor.
God, yeah. And
I feel like she runs a cult.
Oh.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Jesse Lally, Jax Taylor, Donna Herring.
Yeah.
They suck. Yes. We hate them. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. We'll figure out where we are next week. I don't think Mormon Wives starts yet. It's coming, but it's not here yet.
Yep, not yet.
So we'll have some more Valley next week, and then just like this week, another fun little tidbit of what other stuff we're watching.
Yeah.
Woohoo! All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening again, and we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for your time.
Love
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.